Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us here at the Alert Desk. I'm Ann McGill. We are about to take a news conference live downtown Charleston. The mayor, other city leaders, including the police chief, Luther Reynolds, will be making some statements and following up with some information about a huge fight that led to a shooting and a stabbing over the weekend along King Street. This happened very early Sunday morning. The situation started about 2:30. We are waiting for that news conference to begin. I'm Ann McGill here, just waiting for all of the participants for this news conference to arrive downtown Charleston. I want to go ahead and show you that scene right now. So that is the news conference that you're seeing right there. You see the police chief right there. I believe that's Councilmember Peter Shade right there next to the police chief. The mayor has also arrived out there. We're going to be taking this live for you again as soon as they begin. So I wanted to just go ahead, kind of set this up for you, give you a recap of what happened over the weekend. So you can also read this information for yourself if you like on our website, live5news.com. So apparently this is what happened according to police information. It happened about 2:30 on Sunday morning. Charleston police officers say they were called to the 700 block of King Street, and they say that's where a man named Justin Drayton, who was 20 years old, they did arrest him. A man named Justin Drayton was involved in a fight with another man. Police are calling the other person the victim, and according to police, that man told him that he had had words with Drayton, and that's when Drayton then hit him in the face. So police say the victim told them that at that point, after Drayton struck him in the face, the victim says, friends from both sides, his people who were with him and then people who were with Drayton, that whole entire group got involved in a fight. Police came to the scene. They kind of tried to break everybody up. They said there was some problem breaking it up. According to police, they say that when they tried to break up the fight, they say that Drayton and another man started trying to interfere in the effort, or police said when they tried to break up that fight between Drayton and the other man, they say that other people got involved with that effort. They said one person grabbed one of the fighters and the officer, and the police said, please back off, we've got this. Officers said they were overwhelmed by the crowd, so they did pull out pepper spray to try to get everybody under control, but still try to keep this a very safe situation. Officers say that the victim told them that he did not want to press charges against Drayton, but police say they pressed charges against Drayton because they say Drayton created a public disturbance. We see the mayor right there now coming up to test the microphone. Again, we see most of the participants who were right there right now waiting for this to start. So the fight was at 2:30. Then police say they got everything under control. They thought everything was fine. Then they say at approximately 3 o'clock, several people arrived at MUSC reporting that they had been stabbed on King Street. It says that police officers did determine that the stabbing was a part of that fight that had happened earlier in the morning. People who were in that crowd said that they got stabbed. They don't even know who stabbed them. They were, there maybe trying to make their way through, but that they were stabbed. At least two of the victims were women. And then police returned to King Street again later, this time not to the 700 block, but to the 500 block of King Street because of reports of shots being fired. Police say they found several gunshot victims. EMS took those people to local hospitals. The incident reports that there were as many as 5 shooting victims. So this situation started about 2:30 Sunday morning as a fight. Then there were stabbing victims, and then there were gunshot victims. So other than Drayton, we don't know of anyone else who has been taken into custody or who was arrested and charged stemming from this incident. But that's what we hope to learn more about here today at this news conference. with Mayor John Tecklenburg, Charleston Police Chief Luther Reynolds, and some other officials with the city. The Traffic and Transportation Director is set to be there, along with some other city officials who plan to address this situation, talk about how they handle this situation. We're going to assume what they plan to do in the future to get something like this under control and possibly even prevent it from happening. So we're waiting for city officials to give us that information. That news conference starts to set at 2 o'clock. It's now 2:05. It should begin any minute now. Again, I'll give you that full shot. You can see city officials there who are ready to take part in this news conference. This is downtown Charleston concerning a situation that happened on King Street very early Sunday morning, about 2:30 Sunday morning. So we can see the police chief there, Luther Reynolds. We see his spokesperson, Charles Francis, standing there next to him. We see kind of facing the camera in the blue suit and the red tie, that city council member Peter Shade. He's also there, and we know that some other city officials will also be taking part in this news conference. And our reporter who was there on the scene is Nick Reagan, and Nick just let us know that he said the mayor said they are waiting on one other person. Looks like that person may have arrived, because looks like he's kind of calling everyone together, organizing the participants so that they can begin this news conference. You'll be able to listen in live, hear what the officials have to say once this begins. This is the Live 5 News Alert Desk. I'm Ann McGill, and again, you're waiting for Charleston Mayor John Tecklenburg, Charleston City Police Chief Luther Reynolds, and other city officials. They're going to be holding a news conference here, getting organized to talk about a situation that happened over the weekend. Let's listen in. This is the mayor.
Help make all this happen. All right, good. Marty, you want to join us? You're welcome to. All right. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us right here adjacent to King Street. I call it the #1 street in America. And what an amazing street it is, and a variety that takes place here. In the daytime, it's a retail hub, one of the best in America. And at night, it's a place of fun and restaurants, a place where hospitality is given and received, and it's just an amazing place. So in concert with business folks and King Street merchants that are here with us, we're announcing a new effort to make King Street safer, even friendlier and more hospitable, more fun, cleaner, more walkable, but at the same time accentuate to our citizens that when they come to King Street, we expect them to play by the rules and obey all of our city ordinances and laws. That's what together makes Charleston a great livable city. So a few things I'd like to announce. First, let me thank my fellow colleagues on City Council that are here, Councilmember Appel and Shade and Del Chapo. And by the way, I want to also acknowledge what a tough year it's been for our businesses. Some of our business leaders are here behind me. James McClone with Prohibition, Roy Neal with El Jaffe, Keith Benjamin with Uptown Social, Daniel James with Las Olas, Lamar Bonaparte is going to join us in a minute with the Republic Group. Y'all, they've had a pretty rough year. COVID really knocked the wind out of business in America, and particularly on King Street. So we want to do everything to help them get back to regular business. And I must say, it feels like somebody just hit the switch, right? A few weeks ago that people started coming back to Charleston, coming back to King Street. And so it also made us mindful as these numbers return, what are the things that we can do as a city and as a business community to make this place even safer and cleaner and more friendly. So here are a few things we're going to start doing this week. Right over here on King Street, which is now two-way traffic on the evenings of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night from Spring Street down to Calhoun will be one-way traffic, southbound. So in effect, King Street will be one-way all the way from Spring Street down to the Battery. The whole way will be southbound one-way. And we're going to keep that other lane of traffic open for our emergency personnel just in case they're needed, and also augment places where ride sharing companies like Uber and Lyft, and where taxis can pick up and deliver their customers, because particularly in the evening on Upper King Street, a lot of the customers do use those services, and we want to make sure that they have room to be able to pick up and drop off their customers. So that will be a significant change, and in addition to that, this is really going to make it safer for pedestrians on Upper King Street particularly. So starting from Mary Street up to Spring, in the same area on those same nights, Thursday through Sunday, we're going to disallow street parking on King Street. So after 6 o'clock, you won't be able to park your car on King between Mary and Spring Street. And this is going to make it safer. I don't know how many of y'all have been on King Street at night since the numbers have come back up, but just folks crossing the street and the numbers of people out, we really feel to create this additional space for everyone that's enjoying King Street will make a difference. Which will be tie in nicely. I've got Tom O'Brien and Matt Alltop here with our city environmental services. One thing about cleaning the streets and street sweeping, it's so much easier to do when there are no cars parked on the side of the street. So as soon as we're done with business for the night, we're going to increase our street sweeping and street cleaning efforts and help to keep King Street clean and make it even cleaner. Now, I want to say a few words about enforcement, again, about playing by the rules and following our ordinances and laws. We want everybody to have a good time and have fun, but we have to play by the rules and follow our city ordinances and laws. So with these changes, we're also going to increase our presence of law enforcement, but it's not just on the police, okay? Our fire marshal helps monitor the number of folks that might be in an establishment and make sure that the businesses are doing everything to keep people safe. Our code enforcement officers no longer have to worry about our masks as of tomorrow night, and so they'll be attentive to those ordinances about cleanliness, keeping the sidewalks clear, keeping the sidewalks clean, and so forth. So, and in addition to that, our business leaders that I just mentioned are going to have a proactive communication and effort among our business community to help keep King Street and our central business district even cleaner and safer by all pitching in at their own businesses. So I want to particularly thank the business leaders that are back behind me, and call on Roy Neal for just a minute to share a word with you, and then I'm going to also call on Chief Reynolds to make a few remarks. Roy?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Well, I can't speak for all the business owners, but we had a great meeting today, and you know, as a business owner on King Street, we're blessed to have the customers come back and support King Street and support this viable, lovely city we have. But we also are thankful for City Council and the Police Department and the Fire Department to really looking forward to helping us stay safe and bring the business back, because there are a lot of people that want to come here in Charleston. So I think these actions, even though turning King Street into a one-way route for these few nights each week, will actually help us, because you know, most of our patrons are walking, and we just want a nice, safe environment out there. So I thank you all for supporting this move forward, and will help all the business. And come on down to King Street. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Roy. And Chief Reynolds will augment my remarks about safety and enforcement. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor.
Speak at the mic.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just want to acknowledge what happened Sunday morning. 3:30 in the morning, we had a large group of people with guns and knives stabbing each other and shooting each other. We have a very safe city, and we're going to do a great deal of work and adjustments to make sure that we keep it safe. It's like an ecosystem, and everybody has to work hard to protect this great city, to protect our communities, our businesses, and make sure that we continue to be the great, strong Charleston that we are. We will not tolerate that type of violence. As we speak, we just arrested a 19-year-old female who was responsible for those stabbings. We continue to investigate those shootings. And I would ask the parents, as the mayor said, this is a shared effort. Why would you have a 16, 17-year-old out on King Street or in other parts of our city at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning involved in a shootout, stabbing each other in fist fights, fighting the police? That's not something that we're going to tolerate. So we're working together with our residential communities, with our business communities, with our council members to make sure that we take every step we can to make sure that we deal with this violence in our city. We have a very safe city. We're working very hard to keep it safe. These are events that are not going to be tolerated, so we have to continue together with all of our community members, with all of our partners. And I will tell you, even things like First Amendment rights and protests, we're going to work with all of those groups. We have been for the last year. We're going to continue to do that. But we need to do it safely. We need to do it within our permitting process. And we need to do it in a way that helps those people have their voices heard, but allows for our citizens to be safe. So there's a lot of work that we need to do, and we have to do it together with all of our communities. Everybody working together. So I thank the mayor, I thank the business community, I thank the council, I thank all of our residents. And I can tell you, I've heard from them. They're not happy about what's going on with this violence. I've met with the judges. I've met with the U.S. Attorney's Office. I've met with the solicitors. We're paying very close attention. Not only are we making arrests, but we're going to do our best to keep those people in jail. Those people that are repeat offenders, that are carrying weapons, that are violent, that want to attack our citizens, I'm going to do my best to make sure that they go to jail and they stay there. Because we're all going to work together, and we have this responsibility to keep our communities safe. This is important. This is a very basic thing. It's not complicated. We all have to work together to keep our communities safe.
Thank you, Chief. Council members, y'all want to add anything? All right.
One thing.
Okay.
And I just want to thank
Peter Shade. He's chairman of our Public Safety Committee.
I want to thank the mayor for bringing us together, and for Helen Hill, who also brought us together this morning, and to the community leaders behind me, these men who are very much invested into our community, into our police department. This is a collaborative effort, and the mayor has pointed out very specific things we're going to do on an immediate basis, and with the mayor's help, we're also looking at long-term solutions and issues that we're dealing with as to what has transpired, what caused what transpired on Sunday. We have a lot of work to do, but we call on the community for your support and collaboration with us. This is important for all of us. It's important for our business community, for our visitors, and for our citizens, and for our police department, and for the great job that they have been doing for the past several years in making us safe. So thank you all for coming today, and thank all of y'all for being with us and standing with us side by side as we go through this journey of making Charleston the safest city in America. Thank you all very much.
Councilmember Mitchell, I didn't see you back here. Came in, joined us late. Good to see you. All right, any questions from anyone?
You know, hearing about the game plan for this coming weekend, we're talking about increasing patrols besides just the traffic changes, but we know numbers in the Charleston Police Department are down. There are some open positions, so how are you going to work to get more officers out there on the street?
Well, we are going to arrange their schedules so that we have more officers on the street during those times in the evening.
Has there been any talk about adding a curfew back this weekend? I know some business owners came to me and said they actually would like to see a curfew reinstated. Is there any talk about that?
Well, City Council has empowered the mayor and the police chief to impose a curfew if needed, and if I get that advice from the police department, I'll certainly strongly consider it.
And then we mentioned the one arrest there of the 19-year-old female. Have there been any other suspects or arrests made, not just in what happened Sunday morning, but also the last couple of weeks here, a couple of more violent crimes?
I'm going to let the chief respond to that.
Sure. There's some suspects we continue to investigate, continue to interview, continue to look at all the videos. There's a lot of video evidence, and we continue to sort through that. At this time, for this event that occurred Sunday morning, this arrest that was just made of this 19-year-old female was the first arrest. I hope it's the first of several. And I will tell you, with our staffing, I like to talk about this. I've talked to my colleagues around the country, and I've yet to talk to anybody who isn't experiencing an increase in their attrition and a decrease in their hiring and their recruiting. I'd like to report in Charleston, in the city of Charleston, our attrition has gone down and our hiring has gone up. We had our best hiring year last year, and this year so far looks to be even better than last year. People want to come to Charleston. The mayor, the city council, the community here supports the police. That's fairly unique today, and we appreciate that, and it matters in these very difficult times that we're going through right now. Our officers in these melees, I'll call them, because that's what they were in several of these incidents that we're talking about, have literally pulled people out of the crowd and saved their lives, got them to an ambulance, got them transported, and because of our officers, they're alive today. And there's crowd members who are fighting the police, who are taunting the police, who are trying to prevent them from having access to those people that are injured. That is not a good environment for our officers to be in, but that's the environment they're in today, and they're leaning into those things. They made arrests last weekend for disorderly conduct, fighting, and a variety of other things. They're going to continue to do that, and I could not be more proud of the men and women in this city, in this agency, and how they've conducted themselves in this very challenging environment. And the mayor correctly answered, we will get the staffing that we need.
I would just like to echo my thanks to the men and women in the Charleston Police Department. They're really remarkable public servants. And in context of what's going on in the country, I was watching the news last night, the national news, and there was a report that within the prior 72 hours this past weekend across the United States of America, that 117 people were killed and over 300 wounded in acts of violence all over this country. It seems like a pandemic, epidemic of violence that's infiltrating this society. And y'all, we need to do better than that as a people, as a country. We can do better than that, and we can show that right here in Charleston, and we can have a good time. At the same time, it just baffles me, y'all, that we're coming out of this tough year of COVID. Let's get back to work. Let's get back to life. Let's get back to having fun with our families. You know, we don't need senseless violence in this community or anywhere in America as far as I'm concerned. So I do plead to our citizens and the citizens of the world, let's come together and make a positive difference in our communities going forward. That's what this life is all about, isn't it? Helping each other and enjoying the fruits of our society of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I'd love to know, how long are you thinking this is going to go on with the one-way street? Do you have an end date for this, or is this the new traffic pattern for King Street?
Well, it's we're going to try it for a while, at least a couple of months, and see how it goes. Make sure we have a good consensus from the business community and our citizens that it makes it safer and a more enjoyable experience. So we'll look at it again midsummer probably, but for the foreseeable future we'll be doing this. Yes, sir.
What does whenever you say an increased police presence, what does that look like? How many officers are we talking that need to be dedicated to this area moving forward during those evenings?
Well, without discussing specific numbers, I think you'll see double to triple the the presence that you would normally see on Upper King Street if you were used to coming here. And it's not just King Street, it's the surrounding neighborhoods and community. You know, it's not just to try to, if there's a challenge somewhere, not just to move it from one place to another, but to be able to deal with that challenge. Yes, sir.
I'd love more detail on the incident itself. Maybe the chief's best to answer this. Sorry,
Right.
He says there were a large group of people up there. I've been told there were between 100 and 200 young people up there. I'd like to know how many people were stabbed, how many people were shot. I'd like to know their condition. I'd like to know how many gunshots were fired. I've got one audio clip that I can count 18 gunshots on King Street, I would say. Can you give us some kind of...
Your newspaper reported on the number of stabbings and shootings this morning, so I think that number was correct, but I'm going to call on the chief in case there's a detail of it I don't know.
Yeah, let me elaborate on the question of how many. My answer is whatever it takes, right? When we do things like the bridge run, if we do it really well, people don't even know we were present. We have hundreds of officers that do that event every year. We're under the bridges, we're on the waterways, we're in different jurisdictions, we're everywhere. We have jurisdictions from all over the state, federal, state, local, and if we do a really good job with the bridge run, nobody even knows we were present. And that's the best way when we do events like that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's why we're taking other actions. We're working with the businesses, they're educating their security staff. We're working with the roadway issues. We're working with having the lines outside monitored a little bit better than maybe in certain businesses especially. We're looking at things like underage drinking. We're looking at a variety of things. And when you pay attention to that whole system, then we know it'll have an impact. And we're going to increase our staffing levels to make sure that we don't have violence in our city, to make sure that we hold people accountable. Now, that's easier said than done, right? Because one of the shootings was in a parking garage a week prior to this. And that was a 17-year-old female victim. And I can't tell you the number of gunshots, but there's violence between factions, there's retaliations, there's gangs, there's all kinds of things that are going on throughout our entire city. And this was one event Sunday morning, but we have events in all of our communities throughout the week, almost every week. And
Mr. Paper, how many people were stabbed? How many people were shot?
3 people were shot. 3 people went to the hospital that we know of. And 3 people were stabbed.
Conditions are okay? No?
Yeah, they're not life-threatening. Correct.
How many...
I wouldn't say they're okay. I don't think anybody that gets stabbed is okay. I think that's a big deal.
Can you give us a rough idea of how many young people are up there that you
Yeah, I heard the same thing you did. Our officers continue to review these videos, but over 100 people for sure.
100 people.
Absolutely.
You think my 18 was about right, or 100?
I couldn't tell you how many shell casings. What I can tell you is that not on King Street, but in our neighborhoods throughout the city, we have had, in West Ashley, maybe 6 weeks ago, we had over 50 shell casings from multiple weapons in the middle of the day. And we're making arrests in every one of these cases. Our closure rate is through the roof. We're getting MAC-10 machine guns off people. We're getting long guns off people. I've had my officers shot at this year, and not just shot at. I've had an officer who was shot. This is very serious. If that's your point, I agree. It can't get more serious.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions?
Are you all concerned at all if the open carry bill is passed in the legislature? What would happen down here in an event like that?
Yes, sir, we are. And that's one of the reasons why the chief and I and other folks here lobbied against that bill. Frankly, I think it's inappropriate. I asked that if they were going to pass it, that they let a local jurisdiction have home rule and be able to make its own rule, but no one honored that request. It still will be up to private businesses whether they would allow open carry in their businesses, and I will go ahead and say if that bill gets signed by the governor, that I will ask all the businesses of Charleston to post no open carry in their businesses. It's not welcome here, and I don't think it leads to public health or to public safety.
We've seen efforts on King Street before to curb some of the violence. So I've got two questions to follow up on that. First is, what does success look like when we look back at this in 6 months? And if we're bringing more officers down here to King Street, you know, how do you rationalize that to sort of the rest of the city, where the chief just said, you know, we're seeing shootings kind of everywhere?
Well, there's no question we'll continue to keep eyes and our whole city safe, and we have to respond wherever the need arises. So I hope that goes without saying. I think success looks like folks enjoying the hospitality and business of King Street. Incredible ambiance here. As I said, it's there's no other street like it in America, in my opinion. But that it's safe, that it's clean, that it's friendly, and that's how I would gauge success in a big way. So thank y'all again for coming, and be sure when you get here Thursday night that you don't head north on King Street, you head south, and we got plenty of parking garages, by the way. Park in a garage or somewhere nearby, but those few spaces on King Street, we're going to ask you not to park there. Thanks again for being with us.
Hey, look, they've already started, y'all.